G'day folks, well I finally got around to making this 3x5x7 tutorial video, and this has been a very long time coming. I'd say this puzzle is one of the hardest I've ever come across, and it just when you think you've got it sorted out, it just throws up another challenge. And I thought I had it all under control, and then I was almost going to make a video, and then I found another case that I hadn't come across, and I thought I'd better do a lot of solves. So I've been doing that and really enjoying it, really getting frustrated by it. But if you think this is a hard puzzle, you are correct. If you think this is an easy puzzle, I think you are a genius. And I mean that sincerely. So in this video, I'm going to show you how I solve the 3x5x7, and I'm going to take it fairly slowly, so it's going to be a pretty long video. I was thinking about doing a really rushed job, and I thought, why bother? Let's do it properly. Hopefully I will have some timings in the description, and I'll probably also make a blog post about it on my blog. And if you don't know what that is, that's twistypuzzling.blogspot.com, and there I'll have written out in a little more detail what I'm actually doing, as well as all the videos. So look, the first thing is, how do you scramble it properly? Obviously if you start shape shifting it straight away like that, you can see that there's a lot of stuff that's still together that you can't then turn. So really the first thing is to do normal 180-degree turns on all three of the axes without any shape shifting. And the purpose of that is just to try and get all these pieces that are next to each other not next to each other. And look, I should say while I'm doing this, the video is going to be punctuated by cutting in and out. I'll probably be doing things like drinking coffee, and my camera battery will run out at some point. I've got the videos set to the ones where they stop at, I don't know, 30 minutes, so I'll try not to make that happen during an actual algorithm, but stuff like that's going to happen, so just be aware of that. Also, each time I do an algorithm on this, I'm going to just quickly show it to you on a 3x3 or a 3x3x2, as the case may be, so you can see that the moves I'm doing are really quite simple moves, and it's just they may look a bit more involved because they're on this sort of puzzle. Certainly won't say there's no algorithms. In fact, the hardest algorithm comes right near the end, to move around just the outer corners. Everything else is pretty straightforward. It's just long, it's complicated, and yeah, as I said, I think it's a very difficult puzzle. So I'm going to get to scrambling, and just before I do that, because I'm not going to show the full scramble, in terms of what I do, I've found that if you do it in different ways, it results in different scrambles, obviously, but some are harder to get back than others. And so you're kind of trying to do things like this once you've got the 180. I'm not going to carry this out, but you know, you can turn things like that, and that looks okay. But what I've found is that I like to get these green edges over into this side, and you've got to be quite deliberate about doing that, and some of the orange stuff over into the green middle layer here. You've got to be quite deliberate and quite because once I do that, I can't just put that green piece into there. I'd have to turn it around and maybe do it like that, but you'll see that then takes all three of those layers, and I don't really want it to do that yet. So that's what I'm talking about, being deliberate. I'm going to properly get on and scramble and stop talking now and cut back in with a hopefully pretty well scrambled puzzle. Alright, well look, that's reasonably scrambled. You can see that there's not quite done, but pretty much the rest of it is not too bad. And even if this is not a perfect scramble, what I'm going to do is definitely going to give you enough to get yours solved, no matter what your scramble is. I don't know whether my method, you know, where it ranks, how it works in the methods that are out there. I haven't looked at any others. I suspect this will be a fairly low algorithm method, but maybe longer than others. And I should say also that I'm going to make sure that I cover every case that you can encounter on this. Even if I don't get it in this solve, I'll set up for it, make sure we get it. Okay, so the first thing that I do is just identify where the white and the yellow centers are, which I'm calling top and bottom. There's the white center, and I'm going to so that little orange recessed part, that's actually the center, even though it's quite tempting to think that's the center. So the orange is the center, there's the green. I'm going to place these middle layer edges. So I'm looking for an orange-green edge, or indeed any edge that can go in there. There's none on that top face. There's the orange-green, and So that has got to go down like that. So that one's in, even though it looks like the orange is mismatching against the green, it's not. The red-green goes here. Puzzle is quite slow to turn initially because of it's not in. The more it's in cuboid shape, the easier it is to turn. So blue, orange. That one's there. Take that. To its position, and actually just, yeah, that's fine. So that's the orange center, which leaves us red, blue. And red, blue looks like it must be on the other side. No, where is it? Oh, there it is, yep. And we'll place that last one in there as well. So all four of these middle edges are now done. Now what I want to do next is look at the white and the yellow centers, and if I note that white center, you can see there's a yellow piece, what I'm calling an edge center, just next to it. That's what I do want. And these three do not have those single pieces, so they're bandaged across the two parts there. I don't want that. And so you can see there's a little white edge center, there's a little white edge center. I want them flipped. So I want to flip these two pieces that are next to each other. I'm going to do what I am doing here. So to flip these two and keep this as it is, I'm just doing a down, down, up, up, and then I want this one back here but flipped, and so I turn its position across, put it up, undo those moves. So that's what it looks like on a 3x3. That stayed the same. Those two edges are flipped. The corners have moved, but we don't care about that. So I'm going to do that with, let's say, these two pieces here. And just the tough part is keeping that middle bit still. So down, down, up, up, and then move that position across, bring it up and undo those moves just like we did on the 3x3. That center's got to stay there, and you'll see that now two little white parts are there. That's what we were hoping to achieve, and more importantly those middle layer edges are still where they are. On this side I've got two yellow parts there. I've also got a little orange part. That's fine, that's no problem. It's this that's the issue. So I'm going to go and move that up so it's next to the other problem piece there, and do the same thing. And just doing that, that already looks a little better. You can clearly see the edge center parts of those faces. Well, following that, I'm going to flatten these corners. I want white and yellow corners on the top and the bottom face. At the moment I have none, which is fine. So to do that, I'm going to use the corner piece series. I'm going to flatten these. I'll show it to you on a normal cube. Let me just get this back solved. Okay, so the corner piece series is just up, right, up prime, left prime, up, right prime, up prime, left. You can see it's not done anything to the cube except these three corners have moved around, and the corner that was here has rolled there, the corner that was up here has rolled there, and the corner that was on this side had its green sticker on the side and it's now on the top. That's the key things we need to know. So when we're looking here, I see this is going to roll across, the yellow will go there, this one will roll down here, and the white, and then this white sticker will go to the top. So that's exactly what I want to accomplish. And when that's complete, it takes a lot longer than on a normal cube. You can see I've got three of those pieces that have now been sort of flattened. I might do the same sort of thing on the top. So let's carry out the mirror corner piece series this time. These three. And those two are done. In fact, that's done as well. That'll leave us with just the two of them. And to deal with those last two, it kind of depends what configuration they're in. So I would like, if I can, to line them up. Yeah, so that's going to be a bit of a pill. We'll have a look at it. We've still got all our middle edges sitting there, so that's fine. It's because we're not trying to make them all nice and even, the corners here. That's why we've got this. And so what I would do initially is a corner piece series for cuboids, and I said I'd show you each move. So that is just up, and instead of right, it's right 2, up prime, left 2, up, right 2, up prime, left 2. That's what it is. It moves these 3. And so here, when I'm trying to flatten things, those two there, that one goes across to there. This one actually goes up to the top, but it essentially ends up flattening itself. So that's what I'm going to carry out on this puzzle first of all. Finishing that off. What have we got now? We've actually got all of them flattened, which is great. And even now you can kind of see, if I go and turn that there, that's actually looking, better than it was. Now I've found that I don't instantly need to orient these corners, but sometimes it's going to help. And from here, the next part is to be placing these middle layer pieces. Now this is the most, how do I put this? It's the most just see how things go and adapt as needed section of the solve. So I know what I want to do. Sometimes you run into trouble and you've got to think your way through it. So that certainly may happen on this solve. What I'm firstly trying to do is get these pieces that are sticking up pointing the same way. And so you can see, if I turn that and then turn it 2 turns, I've got those two together, which is good. Now, if I turn that, let's have a think, that one turn, those two together, and I should now, beautiful. Now I can kind of get them so that all of these that are sticking up can be faced the same way. That's really what I was aiming for there. And I'm going to start by placing the green and blue. I don't have to get a green here, I just have to be green or blue in this position. So let's firstly, that blue is next to one of them, that's not super helpful. Let's see if we can grab some from out of here. We can grab a green out of there. And so I'm going to turn that up to the top face, turn it round, and then turn that back into position. I do apologise, this does take a fair bit of time. A lot of it is just from getting things back properly aligned when you've done it. Okay. Now that had to go in the green section, so if we put that there, I want to check that the other face is lined up in the same way. Now that green is ready to come over here, so I'll turn it up, turn the face around and put it in, and you can see now that green has been placed. What else have we got? Let's grab this green in the same manner, so we'll move that. In fact, we'll turn this so that it's lined up the same way. Move that green to the top face, turn it round and return its section. Okay, now I want to get the green into there, so what I'm going to do, check that that's actually okay at the moment, but I'm going to properly align it. Turn that up and put the green in. Now you can see the greens are in there. What have we got over this side? Still got 2 that have to go over here, and they will be somewhere else. There's one of them. So let's go take that one out in the same fashion. Just aligning, as I said. Okay, that one's out. It's actually quite difficult doing it and making sure this thing stays in the camera, so I really hope it is staying in the camera. That's better. Alright, now we've got this little blue one here, which I want, and what I'm going to do is actually turn it up to the other side. This is the part of where you just sort of look and see what's going on and try and do things that make it easier. First thing would be actually getting it aligned. There we go, I think that's better. Making it easier to turn in. Alright, now that I want to go over to one of these. That one's actually ready. If I can turn it, there we go. Have everything aligned the same way. Turn that up. Turn the top face. And place that blue piece. So that third blue piece is in. Now we come to the one that I've been putting off. And I've been putting it off because it's not really on those pieces which would be nicely aligned with these. That's why I've been putting it off. So I'm going to now attempt, see what we can do. And the problem is if I want to turn it like that so that I can move this up, you can see they are blocking. So all I can really do now is get a nice flat surface there. Now I've got all four of them on there. That's good. Where'd this go? Yep. Hope you can see what I'm attempting to accomplish. Probably just went out of camera then again. So we'll bring that up. Turn it on. Put it in. Okay. Right. All the blue and green pieces are now in. If I turn it like that, you can see it's actually looking not too bad. Now at this point, what I've found is that I do want to do these red and orange pieces, but these pieces that are sticking up, I actually want to deal with them. And so I'm going to do that in the first instance by flattening these ones that are sticking out. And I can do that because I need to be able to turn just that slice. And that'll, because I can turn that, I can certainly turn that slice. So that's no problem. So just checking on the other side, that is an issue there. So I need to turn so that they are oriented the same way. So I'm going to do the corner piece series for cuboids, which you saw on this puzzle, but I'm just going to be turning slices and it's going to flatten pieces down here. So let's do that. Hopefully you can see it's just exactly the same routine, it's just using the slice for the upper face. Okay, at the end of it, I've got these two on the back, which I had 4 on the front here. Now I've only got 2. I'll do that again. Okay, I'll put that back over there, just finish it off. Now, you'll see that none of the blues and greens have actually moved, so that hasn't affected any of them. What I'm trying to do is get as flat a surface as I can on here. And because of that, I'm going to do this one more time with these 2 pieces, because I really want nice flat surfaces for the next section. And because I can still turn that slice, it's all good. There we go. That's now nice and flat. I'm pretty happy with that. Greens and blues are still in. I've got one red in there, so I'd now like to place another red or orange in here, and you can see there it is, ready to go. So turn it up and bring it back. Now of course I've now created these again, and so sometimes I have to kind of place a piece and then flatten these and go again. Let's see if I need to do that this time. Because of the fact that I think I'm going to need to at least flatten a couple of them. So I'm going to flatten these 2. I'll do it a little bit quicker, hopefully. It's all part of the solve, and this is why I find there's really no absolute definite follow these 3 easy steps for this stage. Okay. Now I think if we look at that one initially, that one's wrong, but I can certainly move it around and make it right. What I might even try and do, no, can't do that. So bring that up, put it in, we'll see where we stand. That's all those orange and reds in, which leaves me two over here. There's one of them, here's the other one, and that other one, I can just get that aligned. Which is always harder than it looks. Let's have a look. I actually need flattening, and I'm just going to attempt, because I can move through. I'd actually like to get a hole on each side. Hope this makes sense. A hole on that side and a hole on that side. Let's see if that can assist me. I think it can, because now I can move that in there and I've flattened them. And I've still got two done on each side, and I've got a nice flat section here with my two pieces. So that was really what I was aiming for. Let's see if we can make use of that now. That is going to be replaced with that one there, and they are aligned okay. So up it comes, turn it, bring it back. There we go. And that will leave just the last piece, and because things are still nicely aligned, I can get that around there, turn up its position, turn it on, and go yee-haw. Okay, so all of that middle layer, apart from these little outer bits, is done. That was a really important phase, and what I definitely am going to do now is flatten any pieces that need flattening. Okay, nearly there. Got these two that we want to get done now. Now you'll notice that I'm running into trouble here because of pieces like this, and because these corners are not quite oriented the same way. So at this stage, what I normally do is actually place the longer white yellow pieces into their correct positions. So for example, I'm just going to do an edge piece series to move this to here, and this to here. So that I can get more of a cuboid shape. And I want to do the same on the other side, so what can I do? Like that. Now it's just the corners, and I'm actually going to do a corner piece series for cuboids to flatten those two. And you'll see why. Alright, the reason is now it is super simple to place these last ones. And so I want to place that in there. So I move its position up, turn the face, put it down. Yes, I have created some of these that need flattening, but it has still retained its cuboid shape. Do I have another one to go? I do. There it is. There it is. Move it up. Put it down. This is somewhat of a feeling of euphoria at this stage, because you know that it's all much more algorithmic from here, if that makes sense. That first phase, and we're just about back to cuboid shape, was long, it was messy, and it was think on your feet. So now I'm going to look to flatten each of these things. I've got 4 to do, so I'll have 2 algorithms to carry out. Alrighty, that's fantastic. That's back to cuboid shape. And what's important is that you've got all the orange and red pieces along the orange and red side, and you've got all the blue and green pieces along the blue and green side, which means we're not going to run into any trouble later. And that certainly completes return to cuboid shape. Now the thing is, from here we're going to find that occasionally we go out of cuboid shape when we're doing an algorithm, but it's going to come back in. And so there's really, it's never going to get to the point again of being completely out of shape, apart from the possibility of a couple of things that may happen. Well, we'll certainly see on this solve. So that certainly completes the first phase of the solve. Alright, well the next thing is to complete this entire middle layer. So that's the red center, so I want to firstly get any red pieces, so I'll just turn them over. That's one around there, so I bring that to position. Same thing with any blues, and having done that I check for these sort of outer edges, and that's normally fairly simple. I'll turn that around, you can see that is now all complete. That's normally pretty quick. From here I then want to focus on these pieces being attached to those inner pieces. You can see the central white piece there is correctly attached. This white piece is correctly attached. This white piece is not correctly attached. I've got to not say incorrectly. Not correctly attached to that yellow. In other words, I want to reduce these pieces. And the first thing I'll do is to reduce any of the edges like this, and that's extremely simple. I'll just think, well, let's put a yellow one on the bottom. The yellow will go to here, the white will go to here, and that yellow will come back to here. So it's a normal edge piece series. Done. And you'll see all the central pieces are now correctly reduced. Now I've got to do those pieces there. I don't even know what to call them. So I'm going to look and see how many there are. There's that one and that one. Normally I have more than this, but in any event we're going to need at least 2 algorithms to do these. So firstly, I'm going to, if I can't place them next to each other, which it looks like I can't, alright, I'm going to say this yellow one is going to come down to here. What am I using? Corner piece series for cuboids yet again. This time I'm actually holding it like this, and this is my upper face, and it is going to go out of cuboid shape here briefly, but it's going to come back in. So I'm going to aim to get this yellow attached to that yellow there. Now that white will come up and attach there as well, so that'll be nice. Let's see what happens. Just turning the very upper because we're trying to move these pieces. And you'll see that it's precisely the same algorithm. Now I'm going to stop one short because I always need these two down here. They're all good. What's going on up here? They're all good. They're all good. I've just got 2 to go. Now I see that is white, needs to go to there. That is white, needs to go to here. All I need to do is make sure that on the upper back face there's a white piece sitting there, and that white will travel around and complete all 3 of them. And as I do the same algorithm, it'll also flatten and return to cuboid shape. That will do, and if we look at it, all of this stuff, they're all reduced, which is what we were aiming for. And now look at my middle layer and just make sure that's still good. That is still good. Next thing, I want to reduce my edges, and what I now mean, I've just done a little bit of reducing and attaching these to that. Now I'm treating this, if you just turn this face like that, you'll see that those need to be kept together, and that's why I reduced them first. That's on the same line as these pieces. So I had to reduce these. I'm now calling that white piece the same kind of thing as one of these. So I want to reduce my edges. So what have we got? I've got a couple of red whites here. There's another red white. So I'll bring them together, and I'm now going to replace them with something on the side that's not yet done. That's not yet done. So let's turn it off, bring that in, turn it back, and I'm always going to replace my centers. I'll just complete that move so that my middle layer stays exactly the same as it is. So that was already done. That's now done. Let's find something else. There's green white. Where's another green white? There it is. So I'll just turn that green white opposite. So I'll bring them together. Now I can replace it with, say, that one. And check my middle layer. 2 done there. 3. Good, we're on the way. There's some red yellows. Do I have another red yellow? Yes, there it is. Turn that. Do the same thing. Where's something I haven't done? There's one. Oh, I'll use that one. So I'll turn this off. check my middle layer. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're getting there. I've got a couple of orange white pieces here, need to attach to that orange white, so I'll just turn them so they're opposite. Bring them together, replace them, say, with that one. This is just like something, you know, for example, the 5 by 5. It's almost precisely the same. They're all done on the side. What have we got left here? 3 left, so I'll just keep going. And we've got a green, what have we got? Green, yellow, and green, yellow, blue. Let's attach this blue, yellow down to here. So I need this third piece off on the side so that I can use that. Okay, let's bring, what was it? The blue, yellow, I think. Bring it to there, replace it with this one. Now I'm just going to return centers, see what we've got. One there, and there'll be another one. Okay, so this is one of 3 situations that you will encounter. This is the easiest situation, which means I'm going to have to set up for the others. And in this situation, you'll see that we've got orange, yellow, 2 orange yellows, 2 blue yellows, 2 yellow greens. In other words, each triplet has a 2 together and a single one. And that means I just have to go, well, what have I got? Yellow, green, yellow, blue. So I'm going to attach the yellow greens, bring them around, attach those yellow greens together, replace them with that third piece. And when I bring my middle layer back, the other 2 will be automatically done. As I said, that's the easiest situation. There are 2 other situations that you can get, and I'm going to set up for them now. Okay, well, I've got it back into cuboid shape, and that's simple. You already know how to do that from previously. And what it is, this situation is where you've got a 2 plus 2 swap. In other words, the 2 green yellows here need to go there, and the 2 white greens need to go here. That's the only thing that's not yet reduced. And so we've got a swap of 2 and another swap of 2. So this is not a huge deal. What this involves is, and the reason I've got it back to cuboid shape is this: we need to turn a 5 by 7 slice, in other words, one of them, 2 turns. So it retains cuboid shape, but this, you can see, is out. Then I need to go and fix the middle layer, and I fix the middle layer using an even number of turns. But very importantly, obviously if I'm going to use that blue to push out another blue, I need that blue over there. Now I don't want to just turn that outer slice. I want to keep these things reduced. So I turn both of them. Now I can grab that blue, just the slice, push that out, turn them back, bring the slice back, and what you'll see is that they're all fixed, and the middle layer is fixed as well. And if you find that you end up with that same scenario, but when you do that, you just have 1, 2, 3, 4, that will be equivalent to this. In other words, you will be able to then go ahead and solve, reduce right down to this point. So that's a fairly straightforward one. The next case is not quite so straightforward, so let me set up for that now. Now, this last little issue that can happen when you're reducing these edges is, instead of a 2 plus 2 swap, you've just got a swap of 2. That green white and that blue white need to swap. Everything else, all the other edges, are reduced. So if we just turn 2 slices, and I'll just demonstrate why turning the same as we did before won't work. I'll turn 2 slices so that I fix them. It just creates 2 more that are out. So that's not going to work. What we do need is to turn a 5 by 7 slice 1 turn. In other words, 90 degrees. Just like that. Now obviously we're going to have a little bit of fixing to do. It's not actually that bad. So the first thing, I want to get that little blue piece back into here using an even number of turns. So I'm going to turn it around to there and bring its position up, turn it on, and put its position in. Just turning slices. You can see that blue's back. What about the other side? Same with the green. Lovely. Now all the middle edges now done. Certainly you can we'll fix that later, that's not a problem. And now we've got these pieces that are sticking up, so again I want to use the corner piece series for cuboids with this slice to flatten those pieces. And this is of course just the same as earlier. They're done. What about these two? Okay, they're all flat again. Now let's just look, we'll get these middle parts sorted again so that the whole middle layer is done. What have we got? The red and orange pieces on the side are untouched, they're fine. That's solved or reduced. We've got this one, and this one. And you'll notice now we have a 3 swap, which is it's the same really as the very first case we encountered, except instead of having 2 pieces separated, we had the 2 together, if you remember. So this has now created that scenario, so we just need to get one of them on the side and match the other one up. So we'll match the green whites up, replace them with that one. Return the middle layer and you'll see that all is well in the land of cuboid. And so those are the 3 possible cases. I suppose the other one is you can just have it solved, but that's pretty rare. For when you're reducing the edges, and once that's done, you then want to just go and actually properly place the edges. So these reduced edges now, so I mean those bits there, those 2 bits count as one edge, same sort of thing as that bit there. We want to go and place these. So we look and see, that's the white center there. So the white green belongs in that position, so we place it there. The white blue belongs around here, so I just want to use edge piece series now to get that done. There's another white, there's the white red. In fact, I can turn that up, and I had one of the middle parts out anyway, so that's fixed that. Now this is my 4th white piece, and so I'll use that to help me do the yellows. Up the top here, yellow, red is what belongs there, and that's that one. So let's go and... This is really like solving a 3x3x2 or 4 or something at this point. What have I got? That, and that. They need to cycle. So I'm going to go ahead and actually place the yellow green, even though it took that white one out of position, because now I've got 1, 2, 3. They just need to cycle like that. And all of the edges are placed. The only complicating thing about this may be that you end up with 2 edges to swap, and you can't just turn them like that because it'll muck up the middle layers. If that happens, just like on an ordinary cuboid, you would turn this face 1 turn and then resolve your edges. So our edges are placed. The next thing we'll look at is placing the inner corners. We don't need to return it to cuboid shape. I'm calling these pieces here the inner corners. Don't worry about these yet, just these ones. So you'll see that orange white, that belongs there. That red white is correct, that red white is correct, so here's one that doesn't. I'm going to look for stuff on the bottom, something that normally needs to swing. Yeah, look, this red yellow has to go over there. In other words, if I rolled that across there, that would be correctly placed. So I'm looking to move that to there, and if I can, I'll get the orange yellow piece up the top to place that, but I can't, it's the wrong piece, so I'll just use that one. What am I going to use? Corner piece series for cuboids. I'm just going to use the mirror of it. So this down to here, down to here. Now what you'll see is that that red yellow piece placed, that one didn't, but I've got more to go. So I've got one up here that still needs to be done. What have we got now? The orange yellow has to go here, so let's move that one across. And we'll get the 3rd piece up into that position. So again, it's a mirror of this algorithm. Here we we go. How are we looking now? We'll turn that back so the edges are still together. We've got all the inner corners there placed, and on the bottom we've actually got the last 3 to go. 1, 2, 3. So I just find one of them that needs to go. The orange yellow needs to go across there. So I'm going to grab that third one, move it to the top layer, and put it into that position. That's pretty easy setups to remember. And so now, once again, the cuboid corner piece series. Now, undo those setup moves. What that will do is return the middle layer, and as we look around, these inner pieces, they're all done. Now, for quite a while I did a number of solves and I didn't encounter anything else, but I eventually encountered one situation where you end up with 2 of these that need to swap. I'm going to set up for that now. Alright, well, this is the situation. We've got the red yellow and the orange yellow that need to swap positions. So they could be anywhere. Those 2 pieces could be anywhere. All the other inner corners are done. The first thing I would do is get it back to cuboid shape, and you'll see why in a minute. And doing that, of course, will keep the middle layer as it is. Let's have a look. There's one of them. There's the other. So they may have actually swapped the pieces. That doesn't matter. It's still 2 pieces that are needing to swap. Well, when that happens, what we want to do is turn a 3x5 slice 1 turn and then resolve. So here's the 3x5 face. So I'm going to turn just that slice 1 turn, and now I'm going to resolve using an even number of turns. So the first thing, get that red back in there, turn it off, position up, put it back in, come over here and do the same with this orange. Now what you'll notice now is the middle layer's back. I've got to flatten some stuff here. I've got these, in fact let's just do it, and there may be a point at which I say right, from here it's just the same as normal, but we'll certainly do that first. So we'll flatten these things. There's 2 of them done. Okay, at that juncture I would get the middle layer back proper again and have a look at what's going on. I see that these type of edges, they're all fine, and the issue though is that these have come apart. And so from here what you've got to do is now think, okay, well, we do that in the same way as we did before. We fix these central bits, we fix those bits, then that's going to take out some of these, so we fix the edges. It's not going to cause any other parities with the edges, they'll all go in properly. And then we work our way back to the point where we have 3 of these inner corners left, like I showed before, and go from there. So I'm going to skip through all that because you've seen it already, and come out the other end. And once you've done that, you will be in this situation where all of these inner corners are done, and the only thing left is the outer corners and the central parts, not the center itself, but the parts around the center. And deliberately leaving them to last because they can get moved around in all the other stuff, and they're quite simple to deal with at the end. Now the outer corners, we'll put the algorithm up on the screen. It's a combination of corner piece series and a couple other things. In fact, it's effectively the same one I use for the 3x4x5. And if all goes well, it only takes 2 or 3 iterations, but probably there'll be something will go not wrong, but it will not work, and we'll be left with parity situation. If I don't get that, I'll certainly set up for it. So what we're looking for is 3 corners are going to go in that sort of routine. One from the top left down to here, and this one going to the back right position, which will then come to there. So they're the only 3 corners that are going to be affected. So we'll firstly see if we can find something like that. White, green, orange has to go there. The white, blue, red has to, so we've got a swap there. The other 2 on that same line are actually already done. So I'm going to leave them for now and look at the other, or the mirror, which is from here to here to here. Let's have a look. White, blue, orange. That's got to go to this one, the yellow, green, orange. Just looking for one of them that can roll down the side here. And if I don't find any, I'll just make it. So none of them seem to be being helpful to us. So let's go back to where we were, the white, blue, orange. This one has to go into that position. So the first thing I'll do is, just as a setup, turn that down there. So the white, blue, orange is going to go to this position, which is the white, blue, orange position. Then I think the yellow, green, orange. Let's just have a look. Where does that need to go? That needs to go here. Okay. So I'll turn that, and then that's the other piece, which I'll then put in the back. So two setup moves there. The front two, left two. Now I've got at least one of these pieces we'll go ahead and place, and we'll go from there. So this is the mirror of the sequence I'm going to use. We'll do this one first, and here's what we do. Ordinary mirror corner piece series, and of course it's the one for cue boards. Having done that, we want to turn the front face twice, then turn just the outer slice on the left, and then return that front face. Now we're going to now do an ordinary corner piece series for cue boards, and to set up for that I'll need to do a U prime turn. I've got to undo that at the end. Here we go. Okay, undo that U prime turn, and then undo this. Now that's done. We had two setup moves. You remember we had a left and we had a front. And what we'll see is that that piece has been placed, that piece has been placed, this is the one that didn't get placed. So it's fairly straightforward. It's probably the only thing that you kind of really have to learn in terms of an algorithm. What have we got now? 1, 2, 3, 4 left. Now there are two scenarios when you get 4 pieces left. The first scenario is that all 4 pieces will be on the same orbit. In other words, this, 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 and this. They'll all be there. Now clearly that is not what we have. So we have the harder situation, which is great because it means I don't need to set up for it. And so in this case we've got 4 pieces left. 2 of them are on one orbit and the other 2 are on the other. So there's no point trying to solve them from here. What we need to do, this algorithm won't work. What we'll need to do is once again turn the 5x7 slice 2 turns and resolve. And you might think, hang on, didn't we do this for something else? We did. And you may remember at the time I said don't separate these from these ones. Well, this time we do need to separate them. That's the only real difference. So I've turned that 2 turns. I'm going to get the middle layers back. So let's do that. Okay, so the blues and the greens are returned. What have we got? We've got a couple here. We now have to say, okay, I can't yet go and deal with them because I have some of these that have come out. So I now need to return those inner, or these parts here, re-reduce them. And after that I'm going to continue back solving as I have been doing right back to the position that we just were. So that is the fix for it, that 5x7 slice. And also when we return the green and blue middle, we only turn the outer part there as opposed to those 2 parts. Once you've done that, work your way through it again. I'm not going to do it again because it's precisely the same, and you will get back to a situation which will not be what we just had. 2 pieces in one orbit, 2 pieces in the other. I'll do that now and meet you back at the end. Alright, and that having been done, what you'll find is you'll still have centre bits out, but different centre bits out. And you'll either get back to this situation where you have 1, 2, 3 corners, and that's all that's left, and they're obviously in the same orbit there. Or the other situation, you would actually have a 4th corner out, and that would only be a 2+2 swap. Now because of that, if you had that situation, you would just do 2 of these algorithms. In our case, we only need to do 1 to finish these corners off. So it's not harder, it's just 1 extra algorithm of the same thing. So the only real issue with the corners is when you get 4 pieces left and they're not all in the same orbit. So here we go, we've got these last 3. Again, it's going to be the mirror, so I will attempt to remember to put up the non-mirror, the original algorithm, in case they're here, here to here. But as it is, we'll do that same one again, and we've got the white, red, green going here, the yellow, blue, red needs to go here, so I'm just going to set that up down to the bottom, and that yellow, orange, green will come back to that position. Here we go. And it's a front 2, left 2, front 2. And to set up for the other one, we now do a U prime. Undo that U prime. That's all done. And you remember we had one setup move at the start, which was that. And that means that we look around and we can see all of those corners are done. Which leads us to the absolute final stage of this. It's a pretty simple, there's no surprises, which is a nice thing after what we've just been through. So you'll see around the white center, some of the center edges are white and some of them are yellow. So I'm going to deal with the yellow ones first. You'll never guess what I'm going to use. It's called the corner piece series for cuboids. And all it is just the variation on slices. So I'm going to have this yellow center edge move down to this position. And then this one to this position and this one back to here. That's all that's going to be affected. Now obviously the one that's here is going to come back to the top. So I would like that to be a white. So I set that up first and then carry out an upturn, and then it's just this slice that goes around. An up prime, and now it's this central slice which is my left. That is all done. If I put this back as a setup, you'll see that I've only got one of the center edges left to deal with here. And so that yellow will come down to that yellow, which will go to this white piece, and the white piece will come back up to the top. Let's carry that one out. Again, we'll put them back and we'll see that all the center edges are done. We just have these sort of corner centers or center corners left. And that's done almost precisely the same. This time the movement is this yellow piece coming down to this piece, which goes to here, which goes to here. So that's actually nicely set up. The white piece will come back to there. So upper face, and it's that slice, up prime, and now this slice. Fairly painless, I'm sure you'll agree. Last one, that yellow going to here, which needs to go to here, so I set up by putting the white into that position. And there it goes, all done. We had a setup, so we'll undo that setup, and finally the 3x5x7 is indeed solved. Now if you did watch all of this, then I sincerely thank you. It takes a long time to make these videos and to edit them, so by the time I'm done it'll be hours of work. I don't mind as long as people enjoy them, so I hope it was helpful, I hope it was useful. Even if you just needed one little bit of that to get you through, I'm happy. This is a Tri-Pum 3x5x7. Get your hands on any 3x5x7 you can. They're a great puzzle, and you can see it is quite complicated, and certainly every solve is different. Alright, that's it, 3x5x7. Thanks very much for watching.